Hi students, welcome back to the video class of business regulation. Today we are going to discuss about breach of contract and its remedies. In our last class we discussed the concept of breach of contract and types of breach of contracts. Breach of contracts means cancellation of contract or breaking of obligation. So, a breach of contract occurs when a party to the contract does not fulfill his contractual obligation. There are mainly two types of breach of contracts. They are actual breach of contracts and anticipatory breach of contract. So, once again, breach of contracts means the failure of a party to perform his obligation. So, these are all about breach of contracts. Now, in this video, we are going to discuss the remedies of breach of contract. In case of breach of contract, the aggrieved or injured party has some remedies. So, the remedies are rescission of the contract, suit for damage, suit for specific performance, suit for injunction, suit upon quantum merit. Now, the first remedy for the breach of contract is rescission of the contract. Rescission means cancellation, revocation, or putting an end to contract. One of the parties to a contract commits breach. The other party treats the contracts are resigned or cancelled and refuses the further performance. So he is free from all the obligation under the contract. So this is the one of the important remedy for breach of a contract. If one party cancelled the contract, the other party automatically free from doing their obligation. So it is known as a rescission of the contract. For example, A promises B to supply 15 table fans on a certain day. B agrees to pay the price after the receipt of the fan. A does not supply the goods. B is discharged from the liability to pay the price of that fan. So, this is the first case. Now we can discuss the situations where the court grant a rescission. So, there are two situations. In that situation, court itself grant a rescission as a remedy for breach of contract. The situations are where the contract is voidable or terminable and where the contract is unlawful. So, in these two situations, the court itself grant the permission for rescission. Now we have some situations are there. In that situation, court does not grant a rescission. So, the situations are when one party already performed their part, then the other party must perform his part of obligation. So, this case court does not grant a rescission. Now, the second case is a third party has already received some benefit from the contract. Then the requesting party has committed some wrong relating to the contract. The requesting party has unnecessarily delayed the request for rescission. The requesting party has already asked for money damages. A contract rescission cannot be obtained after requesting a monetary reward. So, in all this situation, court does not grant a rescission or court refuses a rescission. Now, the next remedy for breach of contract is suit for damages. When a contract is broken, the injured party can claim damages from the other party. So, it is in the form of monetary compensation. The main intention of suit for damage is to help the aggrieved party in the form of finance or give financial support to the aggrieved party for balancing their damage due to breach. There are mainly four types of damages. They are ordinary damages, special damages, exemplary or punitive or vindictive damage, and nominal damages. So, the first type is general or ordinary damages. When a contract has been broken, the injured party may suffer some losses or damages due to this breach of contract. Such damages which arises naturally in the usual course of things from the breach are called ordinary or general damages. In other words, ordinary damages are those which naturally arises in the usual course of things from such breach. So, the general rule for calculating ordinary damage is the difference between the contract price and the market price on the date of the breach. So, we can explain it with an example. A contract to deliver 100 bags of rice at rupees 100 per bag on a future date. On the due date, he refuses to deliver it. The market price on that day is rupees 110 per bag. The measure of damage is the differences between the market price on the date of the breach and the contracted price, that is rupees 110 minus 100, which is equal to 10. So these are all about ordinary cause of damages. Now the next type is a special damage. Special damages are not due to natural and probable consequences of the breach of contract. Special damages are payable due to special circumstances which both parties know at the time of the contract. So it is not a general type of damage, it is a special type of damage. Now next is exemplary or punitive or vindictive damage. These damages are awarded with a view to punish the defending party who injured the feeling of the other party. So these damages are granted for injured parties' feelings, sufferings, etc. These kinds of damages are normally awarded in the case of breach of promise to marry and a wrongful dishonor of a check by a banker. So in first case, that is breach of promise to marry, the amount of damage will depend upon the extent of injury to the party's feeling. In case of wrongful dishonor of a check, the rule is smaller the amount of the check, larger will be the amount of damages awarded and vice versa. So these are all about exemplary or punitive or vindictive damage. So once again, these types of damages are not proportionate to the actual loss sustained by the aggrieved party, but are inflicted by way of punishment. Now the next one is nominal damages. These damages are awarded simply to recognize the right of the party to claim damages for the breach of the contract. Nominal damages are awarded in case of breach of contract where there is only a technical violation of the legal right, but no substantial loss is caused thereby. The damages granted in such cases are called nominal because they are very small. Just to say that a rupee, something like that. So nominal damages are only nominal in value and is also known as contemptuous damages. The court may or may not award these type of damages. So this is the sole discretion of the court whether or not to award nominal damages. Now we can discuss the rules regarding damages. The damages must naturally arises in the usual course of things from such breach. That is, the damages must be the proximate or direct consequence of the breach of the contract. So this is the first rule regarding damages. Now the next one is the aggrieved party must have suffered damages by breach of contract. There must be one aggrieved party and who must suffer some losses. Then only this rule is applicable. Damages are awarded to compensate the losses caused by a party but not to punish the other party at a default for the breach of contract. These damages are given to the aggrieved party only because to compensate the loss caused by the party, but it is not for punishing the other party. This is also one of the important rule regarding damages. Now the next one is amount of damages can be decided at the time of agreement by the mutual consent of both the parties. So these are all about rules regarding damages. Now we can discuss two terms related with this topic, that is liquidated damages and penalty. So what is liquidated damages? Liquidated damages are the genuine pre-estimate of the probable loss. It is the amount agreed between the parties in case of breach of contract. In other words, liquidated damages refers to the amount of compensation fixed by the parties to the contract. It is a fair and genuine estimate of the probable loss that would be suffered if there is breach of contract. So these are all about liquidated damages. Now what is penalty? A penalty is a sum fixed in the contract at the time of its formation, which is disproportionate to damages likely to occur as a result of the breach. In India, there is no distinction between penalty and liquidated damages. The court in India allow only reasonable compensation, not exceeding the specified sum. But as per English law, only liquidated damages are enforceable and not penalty. So these are all about liquidated damages and penalties. Now we can discuss differences between liquidated damages and penalty. Liquidated damages are the fair and genuine pre-estimate of probable damages that might occur as a result of breach of contract. Whereas penalty is not an estimate of damage. So this is the first difference. Penalty is not an estimate of damage, but liquidated damages is a estimate of breach of contract or estimate of damage. Liquidated damages are awarded by way of compensation, whereas penalty is imposed by way of punishment. One is in the form of compensation and another one is in the form of punishment. The main purpose of liquidated damage is to avoid uncertainty, but penalty is specified in a contract with a view to prevent a party from committing a breach of contract. So, liquidated damage is made to avoid uncertainty. But penalty is made to prevent a party from committing breach of contract. The Indian court does not make any distinction between liquidated damages and penalty. They allow compensation for actual damages only. But English court treat penalty as an invalid and allow liquidated damages without any regard to actual loss. That means in India there is no distinction between penalty and liquidated damages. In Indian court allow only reasonable compensation not exceeding the specified sum. But as per English law, only liquidated damages are enforceable and not penalty. So these are all about differences between liquidated damages and penalty. Now the next remedy for breach of contract is suit for specific performance of the contract. In certain cases, damages are not an adequate remedy for the breach of contract. In such cases, court direct for the actual performance of that contract. This is known as specific performance of the contract. So, suit for specific performance means actual performance of the contract. Now we can discuss the cases where court demanded for specific performance. In some situations, court demand specific performance. So the situations are where compensation in money for its non-performance would not provide adequate relief. That means when we provide money as a compensation, that money is not an adequate relief of relief for aggrieved party. In that situation, court demand specific performance. Now the second situation is if there is no standard to determine the actual damages caused due to non-performance of the contract. So there is no standard to determine the quantum of actual damages. In that case also court recommends specific performance. And the last one is when it is probable that monetary consideration on non-performance of the act cannot be obtained. There is a situation, in that situation monetary consideration on non-performance of the act cannot be obtained. So in these three cases court recommend a specific performance. Now look the situation where the specific performance is not recommended. In some situations are there, in that situation court does not recommend a specific performance. So the situations are when monetary compensation is an adequate relief. Suppose the aggrieved party get adequate relief, that is that aggrieved party is satisfied with the compensation which is given by the other party. So in that case court does not recommend a specific performance. When the contract is in personal nature, that is contract to marry, contract to paint a picture. So in that case the specific performance means the actual performance of that person is needed. Suppose that is not possible, then that case also court does not recommend actual or specific performance. Where it is not possible for the court to supervise the performance of the contract. The court has not possible to supervise the performance of the contract, then also court does not recommend the specific performance. When the contract is made by a company beyond its power, then when the contract is equitable to either party, then where one of the party is a minor. So in this all situation court does not recommend a specific performance. Now the next method is suit for injunction. An injunction is a court order. When a party breaches a contract, then the court issue an order for prohibit to do the contract or not to do a particular contract. So such an order issued by the court is known as injunction. So suit for injunction is also one of the important remedy for breach of contract. Now the next remedy for breach of contract is suit upon quantum merit. The term quantum merit means as much as earned or in proportion to the work done. In legal sense, it means payment in proportion to the work done or reasonable value for work done or services rendered. That means when a person had done some work under a contract and the other party reject that contract, then the party who has performed the work can claim remuneration for the work he has already done. Which means suppose there is a contract and one party performed all the duties but the other party rejected that contract. In that situation, the person who performed all the duty has the right to claim for the damage. That is the core aspect of suit upon quantum merit. Now we can discuss the situations where we can claim for quantum merit. So the first situation is when a contract is found to be void. According to section 65 of the Contract Act, when a contract is discovered to be unenforceable for some technical reason, any person who has received any advantage under such contract is liable to restore it or to make compensation for it to the person for whom he received the advantage. So this is the first case where we can claim for quantum merit. Then the second case is when something is done without any intention to do so gratuitously. According to section 70 of the Contract Act, when a person does some work for or deliver something to another person with the intention of receiving payment for the same, then such other person is bound to make payment if he accepts such services or goods or enjoy their benefit. For example, A is a poor boy, clean the car of B, to which act B does not object. Here A is entitled to for reasonable payment for his services because in A's mind he thought that when he clean that car he will get the remuneration. So this is the second case when something is done without any intention to do gratuitously. Then the third case is when a contract is divisible. When a contract is divisible and the party not in default has enjoyed the benefit of the part of performance, the party in default may sue on quantum merits. Then the next case is when one party abandons or refuses to perform the contract. When a party of contract perform a part of the contract but leaves it without completing or refuses to perform the remaining part, then the other party can claim compensation for the work done on the basis of the quantum merit. Now the next situation is when an indivisible contract is performed badly. When an indivisible contract for a lump sum has been completely performed but badly performed, the person performing it is entitled to claim the whole amount, but the other party can make a deduction for bad work. So these are all about the situation where we can claim for quantum merit. Okay, now we can discuss the questions related with this area. The questions are: what is breach of contract? What are various types? What are the remedies available for breach of contract? Draft short note on quantum merit. Under what circumstances a claim on quantum merit arises? Explain the cases where specific performance is enforced. Explain the cases where a specific performance will not be granted. What are the damages for breach of contract? Explain the rules regarding the measure of damages. Okay students, now we can wind up today's class. So today we discuss breach of contract and its remedies. There are mainly 5 remedies which are available in the case of breach of contract. So the 5 remedies are rescission of the contract, suit for damages, suit upon quantum merit, suit for specific performance of the contract, suit for injunction. So I think you get all these points. Now we can wind up today's discussion and we can meet in our next class. Till then, bye, take care.